Taking the tablet away is not working and it will never work. Welcome to the Tesla Show where we discuss everything about engineering skills. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about screen time rules that actually work. A few days ago, we talked about confidence in quiet children, and I asked you to find a thing that your child naturally gravitates towards because I said make those things matter, give it importance. And I've heard a lot of things. One mom said her son loves arranging things, shoes, bottles, and anything. And she had always tried to get him to stop. But yesterday, she asked him to organize the kitchen shelf, and he spent 40 minutes. And she said she had never seen him look that proud. So that's confidence being built in real time. I mean, that's an example of what it is something going and build your child's confidence. We're going to be talking about screen time. Now, before I say anything, I need to know exactly where you are. How many hours of screen time does your child get on a typical day? And I mean total, maybe the phone, the tablet, the TV, everything. How many hours? I'll probably guess that the numbers coming in are higher than most of you would like. And I'm not going to shame you for it. Screen time is the hardest, in this age, it is literally the hardest parenting battle of this generation because your parents did not deal with this. There were no iPads in 1995. There was no YouTube Kids. There was no TikTok algorithm designed by the world's best engineers to keep a 7-year-old watching for 3 hours straight. So you're fighting a battle your parents never had to fight. You're fighting a battle that you don't have a manual to fight against technology specifically designed to win. So let's drop the guilt and talk about what actually works. Now, first thing is that most screen time rules, they fail because they are based on restriction alone. You're trying to restrict. Take the tablet away. No screens after 6 p.m. 1 hour maximum. These rules, they treat screen time like a tap that you just turn off. Your tap is not a tap. They're a person with needs. And if the screen is meeting a need, taking it away without replacing it, it creates a vacuum. And nature abhors vacuum. Vacuums, they create tantrums, they create arguments, they create sneaking. And so before you set any rules, you need to understand why your child wants the screen. Right? Why? What propagates that behavior? And so there are usually 3 reasons. The first one is boredom. They've got nothing else to do, and the screen is the easiest entertainment available. Right? The second one is connection. They are watching YouTubers or playing with friends online because that is where their social world lives. The third reason, which is mostly like what we see most of the time, is escape. Real life is hard, it's stressful, it's boring, and the screen world is easier. And so each reason, when you understand what the reason is, it needs a different response. If it's boredom, the fix is not removing the screen. It is making the non-screen options more interesting. Your child doesn't have to go to the screen for entertainment. And if it's connection, the fix is also making sure that they have real-world social time too, that they spend so much time in real life than actually doing it online. And if it's escape, the fix is finding out what is that thing that they're running away from. What is the fix? What are they running away from? And so the framework I use, or the framework I did, those 3 questions I asked before you can set any screen time rules is, number 1, you have to ask, is this screen time, is this active or passive? Is this active or passive? Because active screen time means that the child is creating, learning, building, problem solving. Maybe they're using Scratch to code a game, or they are watching a tutorial and building something alongside it, or they are video calling their grandma, But passive screen time is when they just are sitting, they are moping at the screen, right? Maybe watching random videos or just swiping, being fed content by an algorithm. And so you have to understand the difference in value. Active screen time has real value, whereas passive screen time doesn't have any. So instead of limiting all screen time equally, you have to separate them. The active one gets more allowance and the passive gets less. Right? That's how I think about it. And the second one is, what is being replaced? What is being replaced? If screen time is replacing sleep, that is a problem. If it is replacing physical activity, it is definitely a problem. And if it's replacing family interaction, it is a problem. If it's replacing boredom during a car ride, right? That's probably fine, because the damage from screen time is not the screen itself. It is what the screen is taking the place of. So you have to protect the important things first. sleep, exercise, family time, and unstructured play, which is like when your child can, and whatever's left over, screens can fill. In fact, I think there's something I missed in that list, which is, reading time, because you want to actually impute a lot of reading time. Now, the third question I typically ask is, can your child stop? Most of the time, when the parents tell me, oh, my child is addicted to screens, I just tell them, just yank the thing. Yank it, take it away, let everybody forget about it for a month. Yes, they're going to cry blood and heaven, but then at some point when they see that you're not moving, they relax, right? And so can your child stop? If your child can use a device for an agreed time and then put it down without a meltdown, you're probably fine. But if they cannot stop, if every screen removal, if it triggers a tantrum, if it triggers tears, if it triggers rage, or like, that tells you the screen entertainment to dependency, and dependency needs a different approach than just rules. All right? And so, like, tell me, have you been through the evening screen battle before? Maybe you say you can watch for 30 minutes, but then it's after an hour and a half before you even remember. And then when you go to take it, they start crying, start begging, start 5 more minutes. Have you been there? Every parent in this generation, most of you have been there. And so you have to understand that at that point, you now have dependency. And there's a way to fix this. So I want you to figure out of these 3 rules, where exactly are you at? Don't start with a rule. Don't start with, making rules, right? You want to sit down with your child and then we'll call it a family media plan. In fact, I think one of these is I'll share a template for you. Maybe I'll share it where like you use the media together. Not like rules that you impose, but rules that you create. And so it looks like this. You first of all decide together what are the activities that are non-negotiable: sleep, homework, reading time, family dinner, playing outside, or physical anything, right? And then separate active and passive reading time, so you know exactly, okay, let's say you're using screens for your lessons or all those things. They're all active time, so you want to like separate them. And then you now agree on how much of each is reasonable. Like basically you set out, okay, you can play with this thing for 20 minutes a day, right? And then after 20 minutes, you transition, which is the third secret, which is set transition warnings, which means that your child needs to know that, time is about to be up. So we call it transition. So you don't just push a hard stop. Hey, give me that, right? You say, oh, I'm going to collect that, or your time is up in 5 minutes, and then 2 minutes, and then boom. And so most of the time, especially like with children who are past that level of trying to manipulate you, it's the abruptness of taking it because it feels like it's vindictive. That's why they have that meltdown. But if they kind of like expect it to happen at the time that it did, it probably works most times. And so when children are part of making the rules, they are fine to follow them because they are not your rules. They are the rules that they agreed to. Because children like ownership. They can actually own a system if they feel like they are a part of it. And so that's typically like how we think about screen time rules, how you can create that. I think we're going to send you guys a media plan template that you can copy and use with your child. And so if this is a problem that you are facing right now, you can go ahead and share this episode with a parent who's also fighting the screen time battle. This will also help give them a little bit of context, and they will thank you for it. So thank you so much for staying to the end. If this helped you, make sure you share this stream with one of your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next one.